Welcome back to the Halswell Estate. In this specially extended episode of Halswell House Uncovered, we're joined by a very special guest to talk about an exciting discovery under the floors here in the North Wing. But before that, let's take a look at what's happened on the estate since we were here last. The old farmhouse conversion is really coming along, with the renovation of the first phase now complete in what will be the second of the luxury holiday rentals. The dovecot is now fully restored and back to its former glory, and there's been a lot of work inside the Baroque North Wing, with floors and ceilings and walls all being affected, all work designed to help restore and conserve this Grade 1 listed building. And it was while some of this work was taking place in the Justice Room that something unexpected was discovered. A couple of weeks ago, I met up with Bob Croft, the Somerset County Archaeologist, to find out more. Bob, you're here. Wow, this is impressive.
It is indeed, yeah. It's something we've been looking for a very long time, and opportunity today to actually tell a bit more of the story. We're still trying to work out the full plan of what's going on, because we know there was a range of buildings running. We're running east-west.
Yep.
So that's interesting. The big debate of, are you inside a room or outside a room? We know we've got a big courtyard space over there. We've got these other little stub walls, but they're not just stub walls, because this one, I like to measure in old money for medieval buildings. This one is 3 feet across. And in this main wall, we're about 2 foot 6 inches. So that is either a substantial wall or buttress feature touching up to this wall.
So this floor then, so this is from what, the 14th, 15th century?
I think the key thing for helping to date here, because it has to be said, the archaeologists have found very few pieces of pottery. You sometimes get them relaid and repurposed, as it were, in the mix of mortar, but the main dating evidence are these tiles. And as you can see from the quality of the tile, they're very heavily worn.
Yeah.
Broken, fractured tiles here. These are the classic medieval type floor tiles. That one's in a complete state there, often with a green glaze, but if they had any glaze, it's eroded here, it's worn away. Mm-hmm. This is a very worn floor. They've put the lime surface down, embedded the tiles, and amazingly this little patch has survived. We usually find these in churches, in priories, in monastic sites. And sometimes in higher status medieval houses, you do get some good floor tiles. Sometimes they have patterns on. Again, there's a bit more work to do on the tile fragments they've got from Halswell. Mm-hmm. But this is the most exciting bit to me. And these earth floors are the joy of the medieval household, really. That compacted soil, tamped in and then brushed clean, was in use. And sometimes you can get several layers of these brown earth soils, and nice to see that, a little clay soil and then a later surface. So that's the earlier floor,
yeah,
and that's the later floor put on the top, which suggests that we've actually got an earlier floor that, you know, there's no evidence of tiles on this level, but it's the first tile layer.
Yeah.
Is indeed that layer. So perhaps that's a reinvestment, a reuse of the building, a more formal use, but it does suggest that there was already occupation and use in the building, in this room, before the tiles were laid.
And so this would have been just robbed away then when they decided to stop using this structure, this building. It would have been used in other parts of the walls or other.
Clearly, there's been there were several phases of rebuilds going on, but the joy of trying to go back to find who did this in the medieval records. We've got the documentary history of the names of the people who were here, William and others in the 13th, 14th century. There were 2 or 3 called William, but whether they actually came into this room and were in this building at that time is quite intriguing. But they're here in the 14th century. And I have a feeling that we are indeed going back into the 14th century with this sort of building here.
So this fireplace here then, Bob, this is nothing to do with what we're looking at over here then. This is a completely different phase of building.
Yeah, we've got, well, you can see the change in height from what would have been a floor level to then this later floor level, clearly indicated by the hearth, the front of the hearth. See brickwork at the back, some lovely stone jambs forming the edges here. But what's quite interesting is the method of construction of the front of this, as it were, because it's edge set slate, set in a lime mortar to give some strength on that, and also fireproofing when logs fall down and things. So that's quite good. But then the slabbing, and we know from the earlier photographs, you can see there was a stone floor that sealed all of this, and that was then reset to that position. Big fireplace warming up this phase of the room, but that's nothing to do with what we're seeing earlier, which is all gone, knocked down, destroyed when this phase was built. So complete several hundred years of history in this room, which is what's really quite exciting.
And I understand there's another piece of vertical archaeology next door with a door.
That's recently uncovered. Let's go and have a look.
Okay. So what are we looking at here then? So there's obviously different types of material in the wall.
Yeah, well, the joy of once you take off this really horrible cementitious mortar, look at the thickness of that. That was put on in the 20th century.
Right.
And we've now gone back to see this vertical archaeological story where we've got one wall here butting up to it. That's then an insert, and that butts up to this. So we've got this massive wall rising up above, which again incorporates lots of reused material. You've got hamstone, several pieces of hamstone. You've got a bit of otter stone with some lovely medieval diagonal tooling on it. So that's the original wall, and then here we're onto another massive doorway. It's been infilled with these bricks, which are 18th century. So they're early bricks infilling that, and that's a different phase there. So we've got probably 200 or 300 years just in this little vertical section of wall. That's the joy, you know. You lift a page, and you don't quite know what's on the next page, but then each page tells you a little bit more. So gradually piecing all these fragments together is where Mark, the archaeologist, will come up with quite a good interpretation.
And there's a story that we'll be following here on Halswell House Uncovered. Thank you very much, Bob. That was absolutely amazing to get a real feel of what's been uncovered here. Thank you.
Cheers.
As you can see, the foundations have now been completely covered with a layer of protective sand and insulation ready for the flagstone flooring to be relaid. Some of the artefacts have been removed by the team at Oakford Archaeology for further investigation, and we hope to be able to bring you the outcome of those in the coming episodes. But until then, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time on Halswell House Uncovered.